Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
After enduring 75 minutes of corkscrews at Laguna Seca 2 weeks ago, we decided to take a California vacation. We did some surfing, drank some wine. This week, we find ourselves a few hundred miles south in Long Beach. It's a famous street circuit. It has some memorable features like the run around the fountain, at turn 2, the long shoreline drive curved quote-unquote straightaway, and of course, the famous hairpin turn 11. But this year marks 50 years since this famous street circuit first hosted its initial race. But since then, Long Beach has hosted Formula One, IndyCar, Formula E, and even in 1997, Long Beach hosted a round of the North American Touring Car Championship. So tonight, it'll be our touring cars racing again here on the streets of Long Beach. Welcome to round 4 of season 25 of the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by SCCA Foundation. I'm Larry Lefty McLeod, and joining me tonight in the commentary booth is Avery McDonald, and of course, Jonathan Grabowski is going to be bringing us all the best camera angles of the racing action. Greg Ginsberg's taking the night off, but don't worry, Clem Club, he'll be back in next week and the same bat time, same bat channel. So in Avery, in our last round a couple of weeks ago, they had to endure 75 minutes of that famous corkscrew, but tonight they're only going to have to survive 60 minutes, but they're going to survive this track, and it's going to present some challenges to keep them busy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough track. It's a narrow track, so you have to limit your mistakes, and if you see something happening in front of you, you might want to slow up a little to avoid the incident. So yeah, it's good to be back. I think the last time I filled in was for a Ricmotech series, and it's always a blast, well put together. Just excited to see these TCR and the CS class come here to Long Beach.
Yeah, and you've got some insight in this series a little bit. You know this group pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, I've known Kevin and Jeff for going on 12, 13 years. So I've always keep an eye from the side and help out when needed. So anytime I can jump in the booth, just an honor to be here, and just excited to see what we have here tonight, because a lot of people don't like Long Beach, Larry, but Long Beach is one of my favorite tracks. I probably drive it every other week. It kind of helps me get keep in check, and things come so fast. So I really enjoy this facility.
Yeah, it is definitely a love or hate. A lot of hate from some people, but certainly those that love it, like yourself, tend to rant and rave about it, but it certainly is challenging from its bipolar sort of personality with that really long straightaway and even some fast short sections around the back part of the course. But those hairpins, and as we got an eye here on Jeff Jacobs coming up to the last sequence here, this long bend and then into that brutal hairpin. What do you think we're going to have when we're going to have 25 cars going through this thing on the first lap? You think we can get through there without too much chaos?
I think there's a good possibility to get throughout the chaos, with the way the league's set up on, the restart zones and, how they, penalize drivers. I think it's got a good chance for a good, clean start here. The biggest thing is just be calm, cool, collective, and make sure you're giving each other space, because normally what happens here, Larry, is the cream always rises to the top. So, I mean, as long as it gets spread out relatively quick, I think we'll be all right. But yeah, you never know. It's Long Beach, so anything can happen.
Yeah, and that sometimes it does, certainly here in our series. So, if you're joining us, we got two classes here in our Touring Car Cup series. Of course, we've got our TCRs. We got a good shot of one of our Orion cars coming to a stop on the track. That is one of our TCRs. You can tell that they're all going to be in the Hyundai Elantra N, and they'll have the blue Ricmotech banners, the blue mirrors, and the blue end plates on the wings. And then, of course, we got our Club Sport class. We got a good shot here, Andrew Sharp there, and that's all of them are the GR86s. And you can tell, because they're GR86s, but of course they'll have the yellow windshield banners, mirrors, and end plates on the wings, just like you can see here on David Klimovich. And I'm sure the Klimovich, the full Klim Club, are going to be in the chat here tonight, as usual. All right, so I tell you, we got a couple of minutes here, and why don't we try to get our guest in? He's tried a few times to get us in, and his qualifying order tends to go a little bit off. But tonight, we got him pre-race from D2D, Eric Violette. So, Eric, you're getting ready to run this thing. What's the strategy? Is it a bit of survival tonight?
Yeah, between walls and slowdowns, it's going to be, and hopefully nobody gets collected in front of me. That's probably my biggest fear is, I mean, of course you don't want to be making a stupid mistake on your own, like hitting a wall or getting a slowdown. But the killer here is going to be if people get wadded up. The hairpin turn. Turn one can be a disaster. And I'm not sure which turn it is. It's not 5. Whatever it is going on to the second back straight. That one there. Yeah, you can get wadded up there pretty easy.
Yeah, there's a lot there. The one that kind of runs away from you. It's all off-camber walls everywhere, of course. A lot of danger there. But your whole team here tonight seems like you got a pretty good showing, and of course your teammates back right now on that provisional pole. So you guys right now waiting on the last couple laps. You guys got a pretty good qualifying. Was that as expected, or were you expecting maybe a bigger fight from some of the others in the class?
I think it was I think you talk about a bigger fight. I think Bailey's going to league of his own there. I only beat Barrios by 400ths, something like that.
Yeah.
So I expected Barrios to be pretty quick. I'm kind of surprised maybe Leo didn't get some practice. I mean, a 27.7 is not what I would expect out of him. I don't know what happened to Travis. Travis was fast in practice. I'm assuming that he got some off tracks or something like that, and he had a bunch of laps that didn't count. Kind of same with Chris. He's 7.8. Maybe he could have gotten a 7.5 or something like that, and then David didn't have as much practice, as we were talking before, didn't have as much practice as everybody else, so he's on a new setup tonight, so kind of expected for him to be in the back, not that he's always in the back, but for tonight, still respectable, 28-1.
Yeah. Yeah, you expect in the 1 hour tonight, any kind of traffic issues? We've seen some interesting interactions so far this season, but how does that present itself here tonight and the differences between the GRs and the Elantras?
I think the biggest one's going to be between, I'm not sure if it's officially turn 1, but the our first left-hander, how's that? I'm not sure if they count the kink as a turn at this track, but yeah, heading into that fountain section all the way through, I forget the street name, but the Ocean Way or something like that, the first back straight, I'll call it. That whole section there is going to be a nightmare. If you don't get it done going into turn 1, you're pretty much following them. Taking someone too wide to the fountain is going to be dumb. And then you're just not going to be able to pass them until you get back all on the straight.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes when the field comes together. Not the biggest field tonight. Looks like about 21 cars signed up, so hopefully not too many traffic issues. We got a couple minutes left, and I know we talked to you a lot. We talked to you a lot because of your success and things. We don't talk to you a lot here pre-race, though. Now that we get to learn a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Violet. So, Eric, when you're not Monday nights on sim racing, what else do you do with the rest of your week, the rest of your time that might be interesting to us?
That's interesting to you? Probably not a whole lot. It's a lot of walk the dog. I'll play some Battlefront, but the really old one. So I know that all the young people out there are like, oh, he plays like Battlefront too. No, not the new PC one that just came out. I'm talking about the one that's like 20 years old.
The classics.
He probably plays that new game called Spider Solitaire. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I don't really do games much other than this, and I know it's a sim, but you got a dedicated system. I spend a lot of time doing setups, a lot of time doing testing, working with the team, getting us prepped for a race. It's pretty much, except for I think 2 people, so Barrios and Carrito. I mean, it's D2D and Orion. And Orion brings it every week, so D2D, we're trying to make sure that we're doing the same thing.
Yeah. What about the non-gaming, non-racing side of your life? What's the work? What do you do for a living, and how do you keep yourself busy that way?
I'm a business analyst, and people always wonder what that is. I say I translate English all day long. So yeah, just managing projects.
You're the acronym guy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I work for a consultancy.
Okay. All right. Well, fascinating. Always good to learn a few new things about the folks that we get to see and to talk about every week. So good luck tonight. Looks like you're gonna have a bit of a fight there with a teammate, of course, right there in the front. Oh, that's always tough, but it does look like the field's stacked up behind you to make it interesting.
Yeah,
should be a good one.
Wish I had some more D2D riding our tail, because I know Barrios and Hartley is usually will maybe give a little more room. I'm not sure about Barrios, what he's going to do going in there, because I'm sure he's looking at it. He's starting on the inside second row. He's going to probably try to stay on Bailey's tail. And Bailey doesn't get the greatest starts. I keep hounding on him. So
I'll have to ask him about that. If we get to do an interview at the end of the race, that'll be our first question. So how come your starts aren't good?
Trying to slot in behind him is going to be tough at this track. So
yeah.
All right. Anyway, I gotta go. You guys have a good broadcast, and I have to do this quick shout out just to my wife Laura, my daughters Megan and Sarah. You guys make it me proud, and it's very easy to be your husband and your fathers. So, all right, have a good one, guys.
All right, good luck. That's Eric Violet from D2D Sim Racing here pre-race. So good luck, Eric. All right, so Avery, we got to talk to him. Now we get to talk about how he drives. Tell you what, if you want to introduce the TCRs, then I'll grab the Club Sports after that.
Sounds good. Like he said, his teammate Bailey Piotrowski on the pole for that TCR class. Real fast lap for him. And like we said, Eric Violet, who we just spoke to in second, Mariano Barrios in third. The great Robert Hartley leading the Orion race team up the fourth. Dan Cardito, Leo Dragota, Travis Schwenke, Chris Thorman, and then David Payton going to round out that 9-car TCR field, and it's going to be a good race with these drivers here.
It sure is. In the Club Sport rank, on the pole tonight, and this has been a good battle to watch between these guys. On the pole tonight from the Wrong Stuff Racing, Robert Schwenkler. On his outside, it's going to be Rapid Theft Racing's Andrew Sharp. On row 2 on the inside, in fact, the outside as well, it's all slow bros, all Klimovich all the time. David on the inside, Michael on the outside. Let's see who caves into turn 1. On row 3, it's another slow bros. This one's Dale Maxwell. He'll be on the inside. And alongside him, from SDK Foundation, Jeff Jacobs. On row 4, we have the one, the only, the legend himself, Bobby Childs from D2D Sim Racing, alongside Frito Sport Racing's Chuck Labana. Look for Chuck to move to the field there. On row 5, you've got Midfield Motorsports' Tom Jenkins alongside Russ Ruddock, the Flying Tortoise himself. On row 6, it's going to be Paul Carey from Carey Racing alongside another Frito Sport. This one's John Casey. All right, so we get things going here. Avery, what do we think this first lap is going to be? You think we're going to see a little melee into turn 1?
We might see a little melee, a little bit of contact, but I'd like to, maybe think what Eric was saying, people are going to give some space. With it being, it's not a quick race. It's not those little 15-minute sprints that everybody was used to on week 13. It's a longer race, so you got to make it to the end. But I always try to be positive, so I think we're going to have a good start here.
I think so too. This could be a really good one. We got some points battles. We'll get through the point standings and all that stuff in a little bit. But we'll get this race going here as we get a little bit of warm-up lap. Avery, what do you think? How critical is it to get a little heat in the tires here on this opening warm-up?
I think it's always critical to get some heat in the tires, but I think it's just getting yourself in that mindset, is getting that, ready to go, as whatever can get you, locked in and focused. So when that start happens, you can get a good start. Like Eric said, Bailey has been a little bit slow on the starts, so, got to get, locked in. So I think it's cool when you have a teammate like Eric, when you can go, hey, Bailey, you got to go a little bit harder on the start. So, because, they're just trying to make each other better. So I think just being locked in and focused is the main thing.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to find any flaw in Bailey's game, because there aren't many of them as dominant as he has been in these last couple of seasons, whether it's in the big prototypes, GT3s, and this season here in the TCR Hyundai. So they come around that brutal hairpin for the nice last slow time before we get going. It's a split start. TCRs will get theirs, and then a bit of a gap before the Club Sport GR86s will get their green flag. They've got the rules for their start zone. They're waiting on a manual starter. We don't go on the actual green of iRacing, but we are green. Looking up on the inside already to try and find his way through. Mariano Barrios is trying there in that 177. The Friendly Neighborhood Racing is trying to get inside of anywhere in between Bailey and Eric, and he can't quite do it, but he may be able to have the inside on Violet. But the lead is going to be Petrowski. Barrios, then Violet losing a position there while the Club Sports have gone green. And it is Schwenkler, your pole sitter, who's going to get the advantage into turn one. Everybody seems to be going in single file. Andrew Sharp, David Klimovich has the Klimovich advantage there just over Michael there in fourth. So it looks like a bit of a clean start.
Yeah, that was a veteran move by Violet there to realize the situation that he wasn't and shouldn't going to go side by side there and just let Barrios go in front of him. So that's kind of what he was talking about in that pre-race interview, is if there's a situation that you probably shouldn't go too wide, you probably should let off the gas, and that's what he did. We stay green. So really good start here, though, for both classes.
Yeah, and we'll see if there's any opportunities for counter moves from Violet to get around Barrios as things get going. But now it's up to Barrios to put the pressure on Petrowski. And maybe for Barrios to be able to split those two teammates is a solid strategy there to make sure that Violet can't protect Bailey.
Well, Bailey's got a little bit more pace from what we've seen in practice and qualifying. That's good for Barrios to get behind him and maybe see what he's doing a little bit different and see what the car can, because, it's within under 0.8 of a second. It's still in striking distance. And, one little mistake, you can either move, you're either going to move back or, the driver in front of you is going to go around you. So just got to keep it nice and cool.
Yeah, well, speaking of cool, we've got some hot temps. We haven't talked about it much yet here so far as we just getting started, but it is a warm day in Long Beach here in the sim. And there you go, right on cue, 73 degrees. It's a nice, bright and sunny California day, a little bit warmer than we've seen in some of the other races this year. And you think that'll have a bit of a difference on these tires, especially these front drive TCRs?
Yeah, I definitely think so. You get the little warmer temp, and then, if you overcook the corner, you're going to even heat them up a little bit more. So, with that little warmer temp, I think it's going to make a little bit of a difference. So we'll see, especially when you get a little bit longer in the run to see how the wear goes. But we'll see what happens here. But everybody's been pretty calm, cool, and collective so far.
Yeah, as we got a good look at the Club Sports now. Schwenkler seems to be opening up a couple car lengths now on Sharp and Klimovich. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had our race at Laguna Seca, and it was a heck of a battle. In the end, Andrew Sharp came out with the victory, but the opening was kind of like this, and there's a bit of a misstep there. Looks like for Sharp, he goes a little bit wide, and now Klimovich sees the opportunity. He's going to duck to the inside. This is just going to open up a few more car lengths now behind Schwenkler, your leader. Look at this, the other Klimovich now. Michael's going to try and get up behind in front of Sharp. So now the two slow bros have moved themselves up to second and third. Good opportunity taken.
Yeah, not looking so slow right now, but that's all started with a little mistake by Sharp. Here comes another little mistake. Now it's a slow bro side by side.
It was, and then right behind them, actually, there was contact. It looked like Sharp and Jeff Jacobs came together. Jacobs might have tucked in a little bit tight, a little late underneath Andrew Sharp. So Sharp not only loses the two positions, he gets bumped again. So hopefully there's no damage to that car.
Yeah, Sharp had when he was coming out of the corner, he had to choose either let off or hit the wall. And he decided to let off, which was the right move. Yeah. And that lost him a couple spots, but that just goes to show how tough this track is. Oh,
that's huge. There goes Jacobs around all the damage as Maxwell makes it through. But for Jacobs, he's going to have to probably call the tow on that one. That looked like it's going to be a lot of repairs on that one. We'll get to that replay in just a second while we check in with our TCRs. Bailey's still out in front. Barrios starting to fade back a couple of lengths as Bailey's maybe like Eric had said, his first lap's not that great, but let's catch that replay. What do you see here as Jacobs and Sharp going into the fountain?
We take a look at Jeff there. He just kind of gets in a little bit hot into the corner and pushes out wide, and that gives an opportunity for the drivers behind him to hit him. So we'll see.
Yeah, that might have been Dale Maxwell or even Labano that got into Jacobs when he'd gone around. Hopefully he doesn't have any damage. But let's take a look now as Barrios and Violet. Violet's starting to apply a little bit of pressure here. Probably seeing this opportunity going away. If Bailey starts to open up more time, it's going to be more that he has to gain later. So Barrios under a lot of pressure from Eric Violet. And these two actually, while this is going on, while they're battling, they pulled away from the two Orions behind them. Robert Hartley and Leo Dragota now got about 6-7 car lengths behind this battle here, Barrios and Violet.
Yeah, now if you're Violet up there, you don't want to go too hard against Barrios because that's going to do two things. If they race really hard side by side a couple of corners, you're going to see Robert Hartley and Dragota move up and Piotrowski move away. So when you're getting ready to race somebody hard, you got to make sure you're going to make that pass quick and right away so you don't lose as much time.
Yeah, Eric didn't mention it in the interview, but he actually sent us a couple of notes here before we got on air tonight. Mentioned that Travis Schwenke was actually one of the quicker ones in practice earlier this week. The rest of the Orion team actually wasn't even out there practicing, but so far Schwenke's actually lost a position. He's dropped down to 8th, now finds himself behind Carrito, behind Thorman, but his teammates now, Hartley and Leo Dragota, are still sitting up there, but they're not quite keeping pace with that Barrios and Violet battle for second.
Yeah, and it's lose a little bit pace here, but you got 55 minutes left in this race to make up some time, and you never know when the driver in front of you is going to make a mistake, or like we just seen earlier with Jeff, where Jeff went a little bit wide and they had that contact there. So I mean, anything can happen, whether it's your fault or somebody else's. So you always got to be cautious. And there's some really good battling there for the third position or second position there.
Yeah, so Sharp had that little coming together there with Jacobs. He got dropped back. He lost the position coming around the corner, made one mistake. He falls in behind the two slow bros in the Klim Club. Now he's starting to have his moves to come back at him, and you can see him right up underneath the back of David as they go all the way down the long shoreline drive into turn 1. And very sharp and crisp for Sharp, and now he's got to avoid David Klimovich. Now they're side by side around the fountain. This is what Eric had said probably is not the best move going around here, but it is possible. But this time, David decides to just slip in behind Andrew and give him the position. Boy, that was close.
Yeah, David kind of got into the corner a little bit too fast, like we've seen earlier, and that allowed Sharp to very narrowly get by him. So it was a really good pass there by Sharp and good heads up, just make sure you avoid the incidents.
Battle. Well, take a look here. Yeah. Violet must have had an issue because Robert Hartley's making a move. Hartley was long ways back of Violet just a lap ago, but now he's gone by. So Hartley up to 3rd.
Yeah, 2 seconds slower for Violet there on that last lap. And that's just a drastic amount of time, especially at a short track like here when you run around 127, 128s.
Yeah, I don't know if we know where that was, if it was just sort of a similar move like we had seen Andrew Sharp, just one little extra slide through those 90-degree dark streets. Sometimes it's all it takes to lose that position. Oh, and now I think he may have just gotten himself a course cut as he's letting Leo Dragota go by. Actually, I saw his brake lights flash. Almost guarantee he got the course cut back there.
Yeah, you can't get the course cut. Yeah, you had that course cut, and it's like he said, it's so tough to run a completely clean lap here, and you got the course. You lost a couple spots there. Now he's got to make that back up, but you can't just push it too hard because then you're going to force yourself into mistakes. So just kind of get back in that rhythm, take a couple deep breaths, and say, hey, I'm going to just try to get that guy in front of me now.
Yeah, easy way to lose a lot of position there. As we check back in with the two leaders now, Bailey Petrowski still leading, just that fastest lap of the race. Barrios isn't going away yet, though. His pace is pretty good. We'll see when they come across the stripe exactly what kind of lap times, but they're running down in the low 27s right now.
Yeah, really good lap times here, Brian, and they're just doing a really good job at running good, clean, consistent laps, and that's what Bailey and Barrios are doing, and they're in the top two.
Thank you for calling me Brian. I feel back to like a normal Monday now, like Greg's sitting here with us.
That's all right. If he looks back at the live chat later, he'll be all right.
All right, well, now we've got a couple slow bros going side by side. I believe that's Maxwell, Dale Maxwell, getting up underneath David Klimovich. So a little swap of position there among those teammates, and now it's Maxwell up to fourth.
Yeah, Maxwell making some really good moves up, and like you said, up into fourth place, and not too far away is Sharp in front of him. So get some good clean laps in, he'll be able to make up some more moves.
Yeah, Klimovich had that issue there on the last lap going into one that gave Andrew Sharp a chance to go by. Now Sharp seems to be gapping him. And then Maxwell, of course, gets by David Klimovich. So Klimovich, a lot like Eric Violette at TCR, having just a lap or so of struggles and have to contain it. And I think that's just kind of the nature of running here at Long Beach.
Yeah, sometimes you make that mistake and you let it snowball. So that's obviously the goal. So Violette had that 130 last time by. I'll keep an eye on the timing and see what he runs the next lap. But like you said, you got to keep it nice and clean here and don't overdo the corners, especially if you're in like Labano's situation where you can't really see the apex because you're so close to the car in front of you that you just have to be a little more cautious going in this corner.
Yeah, well, we're looking at Chuck Labano. So 2 weeks ago, he had a podium finish. Actually was in the fight there for the second place for a while. He actually won the opening round at Willow Springs, so he's got himself up in the second of the points. So maybe we'll actually go through those points right now. If we've got those, John, maybe we could pull those up. We'll look at Club Sport first, since we're kind of looking at them right now. Leading the way in the points is, we talked about a lot already, was Andrew Sharp's got the points lead right now. And if we have, there we go, Andrew Sharp from the Rapid Theft Racing. Had the win at Laguna Seca 2 weeks ago, and also had the win at Mid-Ohio a couple weeks before that. So he's got that lead now of about 9 points on, as I mentioned, Chuck Labano, who qualified a little down the order tonight. He's got work to do. Our current leader, though, in your Wrong Stuff Racing, Robert Schwenkler, who has a couple of second place finishes, he's just a few points back there from Labano. So it's a pretty good fight in there. The other one to note is Josh Vidal. And Josh, I don't think I see him here tonight. Had a couple of great races, a couple of missteps in the middle of those races, but he's got pace. This may end up maybe being one of his drops, but he's currently fourth. And then you got the slow bros, Klimovich, Maxwell, and then Russ Ruddick, and then finally the other Klimovich in ninth, Paul Carey, rounding out your top 10 in the Club Sports standings. So over in the TCR, it looks like it has been all Bailey, nothing but Bailey, but I'll tell you what, he had a fight for a couple of those rounds. Both Willow Springs round 1, Mid-Ohio round 2, but now he's got a pretty solid points lead with those 3 wins. His teammate Eric Violette sitting in second, and then you get to your Orion leader there in third, Leo Dragota, Barrios, Schwenke, Chris Thorman, Mike Dam, who's not here tonight, and then Aaron Beaver, who I don't believe is not here tonight either for D2D, Dan Carrito, who is in the field, and then rounding out your top 10 from D2D, David Payton.
Yeah, really good battles there in the middle of those point standings. It just goes to show every position is important when you come to these races, because there aren't a lot of rounds, and you got to take it. You don't have to have a bad performance to be a drop, used as a drop week. You want to be able to have, maybe like a 5th or a 4th. So, your goal is to keep it nice and clean to get as many points as you can, because, this is a tough series to run. So if you can finish the top 3 or 4, that's a big accomplishment.
Well, your points leader in Club Sport right now is going to try and make a pass on Michael Klimovich. Andrew Sharp now. He got a great exit of the hairpin, draft down the inside going into 1, and it's going to be close. They are mirror to mirror as they go into 1. Klimovich is not yielding, but he may be forced to. He hasn't yet. Look at this, through 1. Now they're going to go around the fountain together. Let's see if Sharp backs off, and I think he does. That's a tough place. Makes that outside, but he's staying in it as they go around the fountain now. Now he finally does slide in behind there, but man, that was some really good side-by-side around the fountain through 3 and all the way up to 4. But look at the pack coming behind him now.
Yeah, that was a great job by both drivers. And look what happened, the side-by-side action, but look at the drivers behind them. I mean, like
Look
I
at
was saying
this.
earlier, like they're just battling hard and allows them more to come up here.
It continues to look at the super tight line that for Sharp finally gets underneath Michael Klimovich, but yet so does Dale Maxwell. So now Sharp back to second place. Maxwell, Klimovich, and Lobato now right behind them in a pack. This is just getting crazy in here. But 3 of these guys are teammates, and I suspect they'll back off, maybe or maybe not, as it looks like David Klimovich and Maxwell are still, actually, both Klimoviches are side by side fighting for position, coming around to the hairpin. They finally decide to slip in single file.
Yeah, and that's a situation there, Larry, where, we, battle real hard for those positions and lost a couple spots because of it. So it's, you got to be very careful because the pace for a lot of these drivers are so close. So, you battle that little bit and you're going to fall a little back, but we still got 45 minutes left to, make up some time and, you can make it up coming into the pit road and, maybe going in the corner a little bit better. But, just a really good battle here for those final spots in the 325.
Ooh. Yeah, get a little dicey in here as Lobato is getting aggressive now, trying to get around all Klimoviches and the Maxwells. And I think that's a Bobby Childs now coming into the fray. Look at this. What a move there for Chuck Lobato. He goes from fourth in this pack to the front of this, and Bobby going to follow him right through.
Childs trying to find a way.
Yeah. Who woke him up today? Bobby came to play.
Yeah, great move by Bobby there to make some moves and slides up into 5th.
And you see who's right behind him. That's your race leader about to lap them. Billy Petrowski should be somewhere in this mix. There he is. He's got a little bit of a cushion on Barrios, but they're going to go 3 wide now down east side. They're going to let Bailey in, but Bobby's still side by side. Bobby and I think that's Michael Klimovich right behind him. But Bobby doesn't want to get in front of Bailey because Bailey is a D2D teammate.
Yeah, great moves by all around by Bailey Piotrowski, the leader of the TCR class, and then Klimovich and Child just racing real hard and giving room, and that's something you really see in these the Ricmotech Extreme Series. And there's Barrios making his pass, so nice, good, clean pass for him on the straightaway. That's always the goal when you're the faster class, Larry.
Yep. Yeah, get those passes done the straightaway and not have to. And Eric talked about it pre-race. You don't want to have to follow one of the club sports around the fountain through this section here, this 2-3-4 complex. But it's getting a little dicey back here now as Dan Carrito is trying to do the same thing that the others in front of him did. And I don't know, this is getting pretty dicey here. He's really shoving his nose down the inside, but he does make it stick.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, if you're going to commit, you got to fully commit. You can't just, half it into the corner. So that was a good move by Carrito to say, hey, I'm coming. And that's, I usually drive a slower class car, Larry, so I'm used to being that one getting lapped. And that's kind of what I prefer. If the car looks like they're going to send it, they just send it in there, because I'd rather be, predictable. And that was a really good move by him.
Yeah, it's a body language. You need to be able to read the body language. If you're the slow car, you got to watch the action on the car coming, and that car needs to tell you based on its position what it wants to do. And that was a good example there of Carrito showing the body language. Now as Bobby continuing in his fight here between the Klimoviches, now he's got some others going around him. But Andrew Sharp with the early pit stop. This is going to be interesting. We haven't even talked about pit strategies tonight. We'll get back to Andrew in just a second, though, as this battle is pretty intense with Bobby, Michael Klimovich side by side. Bobby's going to come out ahead around the fountain. And Bobby Childs to 4th place.
Yeah, Bobby got that right foot down, and it's moving. A really good job by him to move up to 4th place.
From a pit strategy standpoint, from the club sports, they can go a long ways. And we think they can go as long as about 47 minutes on a full tank or 29 laps. So to come in now essentially means top the tank off and then run to the end. So we'll see if maybe if you're Andrew Sharp, if you're looking for traffic. But look at this, as Childs continuing to try and hold off the Klimovich family behind him, while the Orion TCRs are trying to come through. And here comes another one. This looks like Eric Violet alongside of that's Travis Schwenke. Yeah, Violet, Schwenke, the two TCRs, and a whole gaggle of club sports here. A Klimovich, and look at this! That's contact between the TCRs. I think that was Violet going into the side or back of Travis Schwenke.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the tape here, and just some tight racing, Larry. You take what we were seeing, and here's the tape here. Yeah, Violet, Schwenke. Yeah.
It's got to be tough with all the traffic around, but at what point here is Violet need to back out? Yeah, never does.
Yeah, that's a tough one when you're already going in the corner, and once you get on that brake, it's kind of hard to get on that brake even more. So he was maybe expecting Schwenke to be a little bit further up or something, but.
Well, we'll see if our stewards have anything to say about it. We know based on history, stewards are often looking at these incidents. We'll do the in-car from Violet. And again, he's chasing the 16 in front of Travis Schwenke. And he peeks on the inside, and there's just nothing there.
Yeah, just kind of misjudges that he couldn't see the club sport class driver in front of him in that Toyota. So that's just hard to judge that when you're in that position, because the car in front of you knows there's a slower class car, but if you don't see him, it's really hard. But luckily, just a little minimum damage, and we'll still be able to move on. But the one thing I want to said earlier, we've seen Andrew Sharp come in, and I like the pit. Say you're coming up and you got a lot of traffic, or say you're battling 3 or 4 drivers you think you're faster than, or you see some TCRs coming behind you, try to pit a little bit early.
Yeah, well, Eric Violet now, after all that, maybe doing the same thing. He's got a little damage. Repairs might, or he just wants to get away from the traffic. But I also know the stewards are looking at the incident between he and Travis Schwenke, so we'll see what the stewards have to say about it. But right now, at least for Violet, he's going to come in and get his pit stop.
Yeah, get that pit stop taken care of. So. Yeah, you got to make that one pit stop, like we were saying, about 45-ish minutes for those club sport, and then about 40 minutes for the TCRs. So if you're a TCR, your pit window is open right now. So.
Yep, so we'll see. Right now, it is just those guys. Russ Ruddock had been in for a while, must have had an incident there. Otherwise, the rest of the field continues to roll on. Very unusual. We run a lot of these Ricmotech series. We know in the World Challenge, sometimes the pit windows are pretty tight. Certainly things like LMP2s and LMP3s, they get real tight windows. But tonight, to have such a broad window that anywhere essentially from the 15-minute to the 45-minute mark gives drivers a lot of flexibility. And as a driver, is that helpful? Do you like having that ability to make your own strategy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think having being able to do something different it makes it it's a little bit more fun. Sometimes when you have to do the same thing and stretch it, or just if you have to barely stretch it to make it one pit stop. I like the way they got it here, where you get a little put in the hands of the driver. You're usually just coming in, topping off on fuel. There, Schwenke's coming, Leo's in.
Yeah, so it does look like the Orions are making their way in with Dragotta and Schwenke. And we got Bobby Childs in from the club sport, so he's going to take his opportunity to stop now. We do have an update from the steward. So that incident between Eric Violet and Travis Schwenke, they did assign a 10-second post-race penalty to Eric Violet for causing that incident. So he'll have to watch his position and try not to lose too much. It's a 10-second that they'll just tack on at the end.
Yeah, it looks like he's fixing the car. He's been in the pits for about 1:45, and there he goes. Fixed as much of the car as he could, and back out on the track.
And maybe this is a good opportunity where he's got the early pit window for him, allowed him to get that car fixed, as opposed to some races when the window is not quite open, you're forced to suffer for a while before you can get that repair.
They get that car fixed, make it more drivable. You don't want to get any more penalties, but you also want to drive a clean car, especially when you come to like Long Beach where it's so narrow and your steering's cocked like 30 degrees, you're going to have a hard time.
Well, I tell you what, looking at the front of Chris Dorman's car, he looks like he's also been using the chrome horn a little bit. left front of his does not look like as it was delivered from the Hyundai factory.
Yeah, just a little bit of a crinkle. So, I mean, the guys back at the shop are going to, that really scared me there. I thought he was getting loose when he came down in the pits. I was like, oh boy, that was not good. But then I remember,
that pit entry is basically just a small opening between an otherwise unmarked concrete wall. It's a very unusual way, and it does look like they're just diving over, but that was Dan Carrito who exited stage right there for his pit stop.
When I was practicing earlier, Larry, I hit the pit wall a couple times. So it can happen. Thankfully, these drivers are, drive these cars a little more than I do. So
the pit in, obviously a bit of a challenge, but I find here it's the pit out, and it's that blend line and the rules on it that you can actually cross it and get a slowdown penalty, can't you? If you cross the blend line too early going into one.
Yeah, I believe that was what happened to me earlier. I don't quite remember, but my biggest thing when I'm coming out of the pits, don't speed, because then you got to come back in and you're going to lose a bunch of time.
Yep, it is a very long pit lane here. There's the actual places they've got pit stalls, and then it's like another quarter mile of just nothing, but you're stuck having to maintain speed limit.
It helps with fuel economy on pit road.
It does. All right, watching here's the teammates of D2D Sim Racing, Chris Thorman with the orange stripes and the green stripes belonging to David Payton. As they're running 4th and 5th with a few pit stops having happened of Dragota, Schwenke, and Carritos move these guys up, but otherwise staying clean and doing what they're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Getting those clean and green, run as good a laps as you can and limit your mistakes, because we're, just short of the halfway point, and still plenty of time to run good clean and also plenty of time to push up into that accurate tire barrier. So it's a tough corner there, Larry. I think that for me, that's the toughest corner of the track for me.
Yeah. We haven't checked in with our leaders in a little while. We've got Bailey Petrowski out in front by about 6 seconds. There's a good shot of Bailey right now. Nobody around him. He's got that 6 second, all 5.5 or so to Mariano Barrios behind him, and really free of traffic at this point. So we'll see when he decides to do his pit stop. But over the club sport, hugely, with all the fighting and battling that we've seen, Robert Schwenkler is just in a league of his own right now. And you think a lot of this it's got to be the battles of Maxwell and the Klimoviches and all of them that were in Andrew Sharp. Schwenkler's just taken this opportunity, hasn't he?
Yeah, his lap times are very consistent, been running clean, having traffic come up to you at the right time, and just being able to not battle with anybody and have a good clean track in front of you. Yeah, we only got 20-some cars here at Long Beach, but that's still really tight. So Schwenkler's done a really good job at just running clean and staying out of trouble. So that's one thing he's done very well. And Thorman coming in the pits, surrendering his position, but he's still in a really good spot here. I mean, I like pitting at halfway, just or around the halfway point, gives you mind to clear a little bit. And that's what this long pit lane does. It kind of gets you to, take a couple deep breaths and get back and get focused.
Well, I'm a little worried about one of Chris Thorman's teammates, is Bobby Childs. We're ranting about how good things are going, but he came in the pits. He's still there and has been for a minute and a half. And I'm a little worried that maybe things have gone awry for Bobby tonight.
Yeah, that left front tire was shaking a little bit.
So this may have been just coming out from the pits, as it looks like he's going down somewhere around this turn 8, and he gets a whole lot of the apex and the tires at the exit, and that ruins an otherwise what was a really good performance going for Bobby tonight. We're even going to see the onboard. We can all wince when he clips this apex wall. Just a little bit too much.
Motul got their money's worth there having the advertisement.
Yes, they did. Oh, and apparently Bobby's car is having some issues as it wants to. It's like one of those revolving restaurants right now where it slowly turns and you get a full view of Long Beach. That's what's going on for Bobby.
Yeah, except it gets a full view of the wall.
He might be facing backwards. We'll get a good look at that Smurf, the No Smurfs logo on the side of his car. All right, let's check in with our race leader, Bailey Petrowski. Now, a full 6 seconds of Mariano Barrios. Now that third place Robert Hartley is now on his way in through the pits. So we got to keep an eye on that. The other one I'm watching for, we saw the early pit stop for Andrew Sharp. It was a quick one. So we'll see if Sharp's able to run a good pace by himself down the order right now. Still down, I think, in 8th in that club sport category. And there's Robert Hartley coming out of the pits. So, yeah, Bobby in the chat talking about his car doing something crazy. Yep, there it goes. It's continuing to go around. It's doing the sprinkler dance. You know, the one you just kind of a little turn as you dance. It's kind of what the car's doing right now.
Oh, Bobby. That's all right. I'm proud of you.
All right, good look at Travis Schwenke, who's part of the group that's already done his pit stop. Ahead of him on track is his teammate Robert Hartley, but he's actually about 12 seconds up the road. Travis right now in 5th has got a little bit of a gap behind him to Dan Carrito, who's already done his stop. So we're still waiting in the TCR group for the front 3, Billy Petrowski, Mariano Barrios, David Payton to make their stops.
And everybody's making around 13-second pit stops in the TCR class. So you got to make sure you're taking enough fuel to finish the race, but not too much fuel to where you're just going to lose time, you know. So it's one thing to keep in mind. So these drivers, you know, they know the distance before the race, so they're calculating what they got to run. So it's really important to, you know what you need to take.
You know, and some nights with these TCRs, we'll see them do tire changes because of tire wear. But what we've heard about this one is it's not so much tire wear, it's just the heat. It's a heat management, and changing tires isn't really going to fix it. So I think it's partly why we're seeing these really quick pit stops, these 13-second stops for the TCRs, or these 9-second stops in the club sports. Everyone's going to run the 60 minutes just on one set.
Yeah, when you're at Long Beach, the heat's on. So, I mean, it gets heated up a little bit. So, yeah, some races, with the tires, some without. But, yeah, I think that's the one thing that's very important. Don't overslide those tires, and they're a little bit different. But these TCR cars are a lot of fun to drive. But so are these GR86s.
Yeah, we got a good little battle here of the Kerry Casey battle. On the inside, I think that's Paul Carey. Nope, John Casey's going to get the advantage here. And unfortunately, Casey's going to go around and even tap a wall.
No, I think we're good there on the wall.
We better be looking for some clean air.
Yep, that was good. You had to wait, and that's hard to have patience there, Larry, when you're sitting there on the stop all by yourself.
And the next car coming through is Jeff Jacobs, and Jeff's already had one incident there tonight, so he probably now wants to try to avoid a second.
Right. Yeah, it's good to see Jeff back on the on the track. I hate to have it happen to him again there.
Yeah, he's seen enough of that fountain tonight for sure. So Paul Carey, that advantage. Carey still maintaining that 6th spot here in the Club Sport group.
I don't know if Greg likes your hood, but Brian sure does.
No sign of Greg tonight, as again he's traveling, but he will be back next week. For those of you who need your fix of 5G. So Leo Dragoda in the pits. Here's an onboard watching Bobby's car do the shimmy shake.
Leo's been in the pits for a minute and a half already.
Yeah, so there must be something going on there with Dragoda as well.
I don't know what's worse, crashing on the track or seeing Bobby's car limping like that.
All right, so here's a good shot of Leo going into turn 1. It just doesn't turn. It starts to, and then it goes to a push, and Leo suddenly finds himself looking like a fork truck down a hallway, trying to get turned around.
It had that little death wobble coming in the corner, and once it starts to wobble, it's going to wobble into the wall.
It's interesting. He gets out of there clean, but then comes to the pits, and what if he's decided enough is enough? All right, we're on board here with Dale Maxwell, pitting from 2nd place here in the Club Sport class, one of the many slow bros in the field tonight. And Jonathan apparently Bobby says we got to take a look at the hood of his car. I'm a little afraid. Maybe you should take a look before we put it on. I believe that's a picture of Greg. All water is damp. Quoted by Greg Ginsburg. That is very true. Never were more wise words spoken.
It's too bad we're hoping to see that car in motion when we take a look at it, not the side-to-side motion. Hope they go to the chiropractor after that.
I will say it is creative, and I do love it. Bobby, you're not the first person to put a picture of Greg on their Sims paint. It has been done before, but I like this one. All right, let's check back in with some more pit stops. David Payton hitting from third. Let's see what this does behind him, because you got Hartley, Schwenke, Carrito all waiting to jump past David Payton. And then we're still waiting on Petrowski and Barrios, your top two. And really, other than a couple, Andrew Sharp and what Maxwell and Carey have pitted from the club sports, the rest of that field we're still waiting on. You watch Bailey, and that car is just never out of sorts. He's just always got the car in the right position in the right pitch.
Yeah, it's like he just drives one lap and just does it on loop every single time. Doing a really good job at maintaining good pace, but most importantly, clean racing. He's running clean laps and not getting slowdowns and not hitting the wall. And I hope we don't curse him, but he's doing a really good job at that. And so is Barrios 8 seconds back. I mean, we'll see where they're going to, when Barrios comes in and pits within the next 5 to 6 minutes, where he's going to come out with Robert Hartley.
Yeah, as we'll wait to take our break until we see the pit stops of Petrowski and Barrios, I imagine, coming up soon. Is Petrowski right now trying to get around one of the Klimoviches. And he does. That's Michael. Currently running in third. But yeah, you better hope Bailey doesn't have any issues, because that commentator's curse, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's happened to me a little bit. Oh, Bobby's coming out. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Well, that was interesting because the car left him pointed in a weird direction, but he's checking the suspension, making sure it's all together. So, yeah, apparently Bobby just wants to beat Jeff Jacobs, who also spent 14 minutes in the pit. Bobby's stop was about 10 and a half.
So in theory, he should be all right.
Yeah, Bobby's he's about a lap and a half ahead of Jeff. Of course, Jeff, we still got 24 and a half minutes in this race. So, meanwhile, race leader, Bailey Petrowski, TCR leader, is in the pits.
Yeah, Bailey coming in, stopping. Just going to fill it up with that fuel and get a good clean stop in. You can gain a lot of time coming into the pits, nice and strong, but you can also lose a lot of time. So Bailey just nice, calm, cool, collective in. 13.5 second pit stop, so pretty much on par with what everybody else has done. So good job there by Bailey.
As fast as Bailey is in managing the race and all of the technical points of driving a car, Bailey's maybe a weakness has been his pit stops. He had a couple of times where he'll take on way too much fuel and be slow in and out, and he'll lose gap to the cars behind him. So we're going to keep our eyes on Mariano Barrios. It does look like Bailey's stop was pretty efficient, very, very close to on par with the others, but we'll see how it compares to Mariano Barrios, who was about, I don't know what it was, about 7-8 seconds behind Bailey at the time Bailey came in.
Yeah, you're looking at it.
New leader.
Yeah, new leader. Way to go. Barrios put himself in that position. Going to be the last one of the TCRs to pit. So they're on the lead lap. So good job for Barrios. And it comes in the pit, says, I don't want to sit behind the old club sport car, and I'm going to come down in and get some fuel.
All right, so now we'll keep our eyes on where is Bailey Petrowski relative to Barrios. Barrios coming in for his stop, and you get a good look at how long this pit lane is just to get to the pit stalls.
I about fell asleep.
Meanwhile, the the pace car is finally there. But yeah, all the way around here on the Shoreline Drive, the pit line is all the way down the entire straightaway. Trowski should be going on by right about now and resuming the lead there in TCR.
Yeah, Bailey back to the lead. Now we'll see. He's got 10 seconds till he gets to about the end of Barrios will be. Where is he going to come out compared to Hartley? And then Hartley is quite a bit back there. So yeah, it's about 12 seconds to Hartley. So good job by Barrios. He actually gained a little bit of time. Well, it's about even now, but
yeah,
really, yeah. I mean, within margin. I mean, both their times were within 0.2 of each other on their pit lane time. So yeah, pretty good.
Tell you what, why don't we go ahead and take our break? I have a feeling these club sports are going to be a little bit longer as their pit window is a little longer if they choose to take it. So we'll take our break right now, get a couple of messages in from our supporters of our series, and we'll be right back then for the conclusion of the TCC series from Long Beach. So we'll be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we're back with the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup from Long Beach. And Avery, it looks like we did have a pit stop during the break. Our leader, Robert Schwenkler, in the Club Sport class.
Yeah, Robert coming down in the pits at a good, nice, clean time, 50 seconds. You know, you're going to see Labano behind him there, and Chuck still got a pit. So Robert was able to come in through the pits and maintain the lead. So a good run for him, but you still got to stay calm, cool, and collective. You got just over 16 minutes to go, and anybody can make a mistake, so you still got to run good, clean laps.
Yeah, it's a good, solid pit stop for Robert. No issues, it seems, and able to actually maintain the lead. You don't see that too often in this series. Normally, these are some close battles, but tonight, with all the battling that went on between second, third, fourth, and fifth place, it left Robert with a pretty big margin enough to maintain that even after the pit stop.
Yep, just a good job by him. And, coming here to Long Beach, it's a really tough track, and he's been able to maintain some really good pace. But so far, it's been some really good driving throughout the whole field. And it's been really fun to be here. And Pietrowski doing what he does, putting on a clinic. I take notes every time I watch Bailey race. Okay, I should probably do this, this, and this. And everything that I do, it's nothing he does. So so I was trying to take a little notes from him. For most of these drivers here.
You just watched him, he was such a master in the prototypes. And we were seeing him in the GTPs. And then we started seeing he decided to jump into the World Challenge in DT3s a season or so ago. And now we see what he's doing here in these TCRs. It seems that he has no limits to his skills. But speaking of skills in the pits, it looks like Dale Maxwell decided to bring his in. Still waiting on a few others, Labano, Klimovich's, to get their pit stops in. We're keeping our eyes on Labano here as he comes into tonight second in the points behind Andrew Sharp. And of course, we're watching Sharp because Sharp took that early pit stop, got himself up to 5th right now. And the gap from Labano to Sharp is about 30 seconds. And that's pretty close to about a pit stop through the lane. So let's see what happens when Labano and the two Klimoviches decide to make their stop. Where does Andrew Sharp end up? As one of the slow bros is going slow down pit lane. That's Michael Klimovich in for his stop.
Yeah, Klimovich coming down. His other teammate David Klimovich still needs to make his way in the pits. Same with John Casey and Chuck Labano. Let's get a good pit entrance here. But like you're saying, Larry, about Bailey running different cars. That's the one thing I like about Extreme Motorsports is there's always chances to try a different car. This season you could go TCR or CS while you're running the Ricmotech World Challenge Series. So it's always a good opportunity to come run with a professionally ran series and being able to run a car and just learning how to get better.
Well, we've got both the Klimoviches are in and leaving the pits between Michael and David. Labano remains out. Andrew Sharp now up to 3rd. Kind of deciding here who ends up the faster the Klimoviches through the pit stops. It does look like Michael's going to have the advantage ahead of David as they finish up their stops. Michael right there behind Rob Hartley, who's just gone by in his TCR from Orion. So 3/4 of the way through, in the DCRs, everything's just kind of spread out. Nobody's really pushing each other mano-a-mano or anything like that. But I think these club sports still have some battles to be decided. Between the Klimoviches, Chuck Labano, Andrew Sharp, I think we have yet to see what's going to happen here as Labano is in the pits.
Labano coming in. So, yeah, pretty much everybody's made their way down for their scheduled pit stops. I'm curious to see where Labano will come out of the pits here. Had a little bit shorter pit time than Schwankler did, about 1.5 seconds slower. And here's Sharp, who, remember, he short pitted around the 17-minute mark. And it's going to be real close. Sharp's got a full steam, though.
He does. It is going to be very close. You can see Sharp there on the straightaway. But he does make the pass, so would you believe it? Andrew Sharp, after all that issue he had at the start of the race and all the battling and some contact, the early pit stop, he's resumed back into 2nd place now in this race, and he's going to have a couple seconds advantage on the pack behind him. 5 seconds to Labano and another 4 seconds or so back to the Klimovich group.
Yeah, now he can take a deep breath. I'm sure he was pushing the pace when, trying to, make up some time for some of those earlier mistakes. And now they sees that gap is 6.5 seconds back to 3rd and Chuck Labano. Ooh, that was really tight there, but he can kind of, take a little deep breath as we look at Travis Schwenke, who's in 5th right now in TCR, trying to run down some slower traffic there. Of the club sport class. Sometimes the eyes don't always work on what I'm seeing in front of me.
Yeah, that's Jeff Jacobs a couple laps down there in front of him, and I think it's Chris Thorman that Schwenke may have either just gotten around or they've been battling a little. Certainly real close between them.
Yeah, good battle here.
Lines.
Yeah, which is, kind of tough here when you're at Long Beach because you don't want to get a little too off track, or you don't want to cut the apex of the corner too tight. We've seen what happened earlier, so anything can happen.
Yeah.
So any small little mistake, it's gonna penalize you. You're gonna hit the wall, and you're gonna be back there wobbling in the pits. So you gotta be really careful when you hit these curbs.
As Bobby showed us, that apex at 8 is definitely a wall that does not want to move. But interesting, the turn 6 area where that left is. Oh, look at it. We got contact here. So we had a good apex speed with Thorman, but I think he got all the way into the trunk there of Schwenke as they were coming out of it. So Schwenke might have gotten a little bit of a boost leaving the corner.
Yeah, bump draft in there in the corner, kind of, help them propel that car a little more, but they're still battling here. It's a good battle for the 5th position. Schwanke and Thorman, been around a long time here at XMS, and they always know if to put on a show, and we'll see if they can give us the last 11 minutes of the race.
We always love a good D2D Orion battle, and these two seem to be just like any other, real tight racing between these two juggernaut teams.
Yeah, sometimes you give them that little bump, just be like, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to wreck you, but I just want you to not forget about me, so just friendly little wave,
It's just, Chris reminding Travis that, hey, my min speed's faster than your min speed. Maybe you need to go faster.
Yeah, just trying to, encourage them to go a little bit faster, or be like, just let me by. I know we're in a race, but just let me by because it'd be easier. But no, we're here, we're racing hard, and Schwanke put on a really good job. Same with Thorman.
Yeah.
The whole crew here. I mean, I think we only have 2 or 3 drivers that aren't on the track anymore.
There you can see the delta and how quickly Thorman's been catching Schwanke. Now it's going to be
same time.
It's one thing to catch him, it's another to pass him, and again in the hairpin, more contact.
Well, then they got Club Sport cars coming up.
Yeah, that looked like a serious amount of chrome horn, as they say. A little more than just a friendly reminder that time. And I don't know, Schwanke's going to get defensive. Thorman's going to maybe take a look, but nope, slide in behind.
Oh, yeah. Definitely
Russ Ruddock in front of him now, and Ruddock a little slower through these fountain section than the TCRs behind him. Does Schwanke get a little desperate? Does Thorman make a move?
Yeah, you're catching up to the flying tortoise himself, and Russ doing a good job, and he moves over to the right, lets those the TCR cars go through here. And the one thing we just seen here, they're able to get a little bit over, but Schwanke was able to get a better corner entrance because he's a little bit further towards the wall, but they're still right neck and neck. So we'll see if Thorman's going to give him a little bump.
Well, Thorman looks like he's been quicker around the final hairpin, and I wonder if he's better to give an extra car length, get the better run, and instead of bumping and slowing yourself at the apex behind Schwanke, maybe use your momentum to actually carry it to the straightaway and make the pass at the other end.
Yeah, I think what he's going to do, he's going to wait till the final lap to do it, so that way it's a cool side-by-side finish for 5th.
It'd be great for us.
Right, here he comes.
Oh, look at this. He's going to use the inside. Schwanke left the door open, and Thorman used it, but Schwanke still gets on the gas a little better. So Thorman, again, he's really good in that corner, but that time might have been more contact. This is your classic touring cars here. A little bit of trading some paint, so to speak, as Thorman again looks like he wants the inside as they're going to go around the long drive, and now it's Schwanke that can't make the turn. Like, it's same thing with Thorman, both of them having their issues there, but Schwanke with a bigger issue. He's got to do what his teammate Dragota had to do and figure out a way to turn around. Meanwhile, Chris Thorman takes over 5th place.
Yeah, they're really good side-by-side, head into there, and just Thorman had a little bit of contact there with Schwanke and just kind of unset the car, but Travis did a good job at slowing the car down so he didn't hit the wall.
So is this a game of chicken that both drivers just couldn't figure out when to flinch? Yeah, they kept going to the straightaway and kind of weaving a little high tapping, and at some point they both went, "Oh, we're at the braking zone."
Yeah. Sometimes you get a little too caught up in the battle and end up in the wall. But good job by both drivers to minimize the damage. And Schwanke only lost a spot, and he is getting back going. So these guys are running real tight with each other, real strong. And you come to a very tight and narrow track like that, those slight incidents are going to happen because that was just a minor incident. I mean, it could have been way worse. So it's like. It's just good racing, and it's been something you always get here at Extreme Motorsports, and I know us at Apex Racing TV are privileged to cover them.
Well, it looks like Schwanke lost 2 positions. Both the D2D drivers got by. Not only the battle with Thorman, but David Payton also slipped underneath Travis Schwanke when he was having his issues. So Schwanke now down to 7th.
Yeah, still a little time to try to make up a spot. I mean, we don't know if Thorman's got... the car doesn't look too damaged, but it might have a little, minor damage. But, just got to, if you're in Schwanke's position, put your head down, You got nothing to lose. If Violet's a lap behind, he's got a 10-second penalty. So just put your head down and put that pedal to the floor and see what you can do. Try to run a good quick lap. A little damage for Schwenke, but I think you got to go for broke now, Larry.
You really do. Yeah, I think if he wants to have a chance to get that spot back, he's got to really hustle at this point. But he looks like he may actually be fading even further behind David Payton, who's just kind of having a very consistent race at this point. You can see that 64 Payton just up ahead. Travis is going to have to work pretty hard. Only 6 minutes left.
Yep, keep the pressure on. You never know if the car, if you get a second closer or so, that's gonna, David's gonna be like, oh, he's catching me a little bit, and they might make a couple mistakes, but just under 6 minutes to go. If you're David Payton, just run calm, cool, collective, and see what you can do. And Schwenke a little damage going through that hairpin. You saw the 325 of Michael Klimovich get through there almost just a little more smoothly.
All right, with just over 5 minutes to go in the race, Bailey Petrowski has led from the green flag, except for that couple laps where he came to the pits and Barrios picked up a couple laps led. But Bailey, so far, 54.5 minutes, pretty flawless for his efforts. Barrios and then Hartley with a good solid race there, currently in third. In the club sports, continues to be Robert Schwenkler leading the way. He's got a 40-second advantage now on Andrew Sharp. Sharp, good recovery to get back to second. Right now, Sharp's only about 2 seconds ahead of Chuck Labano for that second place. Labano in third, and I'll tell you, Andrew probably can't relax at this point because Labano's been quicker the last couple times around. Took out about 7/10 the last time around. Any traffic comes along, and you can see in the background there, Labano's there.
If you're Labano, keep on the pressure. You only got a couple laps left, to try to get around Sharp there. And, Chuck's been doing a really good job keeping it nice and clean and running with good pace. So I think if you're in his situation, you got 11 seconds back to the driver, Klimovich in fourth. Keep the pedal to the floor and see what you can do.
And keep in mind, coming into tonight after 3 rounds, the points difference with Sharp as your overall points leader sitting at 192. Chuck Labano's in second place with only 183. They're just 5 points, or just about 9 points apart. I can't count. I feel like Inberg tonight. 9 points separated the two of them. But Labano really desperately could use these extra points if he could find a way in the next 3.5 minutes to get around Sharp. But he's got to get up to Sharp if he wants to do it. He did take another 4/10 out the last lap, but he's got to go another 1.9 to get there.
Yeah, just a little bit quicker that last time around was Labano. So I think, the gap's it's not very big. It's about 2 seconds.
I think Chuck needs help. I think he needs a TCR to come through and really slow down. He doesn't need this one in front of him. He needs it in front of in a bad spot somewhere around where Andrew is. As we're watching, I think that was David Payton there. But that's kind of what he needs at this point if you're Chuck Labano, with now 3 minutes to go in the race and at about Bailey Petrowski's mid-20s to high 20s per lap. We might have about 2 to 3 laps left, depending on where Mr. Petrowski is or when he crosses that white flag lap stripe. We're thinking 2 to go.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well,
now you get that extra lap and you got to make sure you took enough fuel.
Labano in the background there looked like he got really close to that exit coming out of the hairpin. He's probably throwing all risk out there to see if he can get some pace down this long straightaway.
Yeah, it looks like Labano lost a little bit of time to Sharp by about a half second there. So, but pushing the Pacers, Bailey there put on a really good drive.
Yep, should be 2 to go. Next time around, we'll see that white flag for Bailey. But yeah, Bailey's just been spot on, nearly flawless. I know Eric tried to critique Bailey at pre-race, but not a lot of weakness in Bailey's game, is there?
No, not a lot. But give a lot of credit to, Barrios. They're up in second place, 14 seconds back. That's a big gap back to third, too. So, to where Hartley's at. So, really good job by Barrios by running a good race so far. Still got 1 to go as it crosses the line soon. But, really good job to run up in second and a nice-looking livery.
It really is. Yeah, he's always got a good livery there in the friendly neighborhood racing entries. And definitely having a good, solid night on what is, I believe, a technically difficult track. You had said you really like this place. Is it that technical nature that really presents that challenge, and so the drivers that like it really enjoy the technical side?
That's the part I like. I think it brings out the better of me. I think it, you go to other tracks that maybe have like 1 or 2 technical corners. Well, this one's got them all, so it's a good way to practice those technical corners.
Well, coming into tonight, Mario Barrios was 4th in the standings, just ahead of Travis Schwenke, but he was trailing behind Eric Violette and Leo Dragotta. We know that both of them have had their issues tonight. Barrios can hold on to this, as that looked like there was an issue there in the hairpin. We're going to have to catch a replay on that one, as there was a car on its lid coming out of the hairpin. But meanwhile, Barney's got the white flag in the air for Bailey Petrowski. But let's check what's going on here, as John Casey in a battle here with Michael Klibovich. Casey all by himself spins out, and then Klibovich helps him up and over, but that curb started that spin, and that's the nature of these GR86s. They have that sort of tippy 2-wheel nature, and I think we just saw it happening there for Casey.
That's one of those slow tip overs that are like, they look scary if you go fast forward, but it's at normal speed. It's just real slow.
Yeah, and really, if you're Klibovich, you had nowhere to go. Casey just sort of blocked the track, and they are going to look at it. I have a feeling they're not going to be able to do much with this one.
No, probably not. But how about Bailey Piotrowski though, putting on that clinic? He's gonna come and get another W here at Extreme Motorsports in the Ricmotech TC Touring Car Series.
Yeah, just a couple of corners here. Last time around, the quick left sweep here through the turn 11 hairpin, goes from wall to apex to the exit wall, and it's just a couple of upshifts away. Bailey, this will mark 3 wins, now make it 4 wins in 4 rounds. For D2D Sim Racing's Bailey Petrowski and TCR getting another win, and then not too far behind him, there he is, the friendly neighborhood racing entry, Mariano Barrios. A great, solid race for Mariano to come in second here in the TCR category. And we're still waiting on the 3rd and 4th place, but meanwhile, the Club Sport leader, and this guy desperately needed a win, if anybody did, because we had seen the previous rounds, winners of Andrew Sharp, Chuck Lobano had a win, but this guy, Robert Schwenkler, had been on the pole, not able to get to the top step at the end. Tonight, he's going to get himself a victory. For the Wrong Stuff Racing, it's Robert Schwenkler getting the win in Club Sport. And somewhere down behind him, we've still got the battle of Andrew Sharp and Chuck Lobano, who's had that points battle going on. It's up to about 4 seconds in this race. And there you can see it. Sharp, a couple of more corners to go, and he hopes to be on the 2nd step. Lobano, one of these two is going to be 2nd, one's going to be 3rd, because everyone behind them is finished.
Yeah, great job by Sharp to rebound after a little rough start and had that early pit stop, and going to bring it home 2nd place. Going to get some points on the day and move up probably in the point standings a little bit.
Yep, solid for him as well. For Lobano, who had a rough qualifying, kind of the big mover of the day there for Chuck Lobano. So there you go, Petrowski, Barrios, and Hartley, your podium in TCR. Schwenkler, Sharp, and Lobano, your podium in the Club Sport. Tell you what, why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get interviews with our winners. So you're watching the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup on Apex Racing TV. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Welcome back to the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup. You have just watched round 4 from Long Beach, and it was a good one. Let's run through the final standings here. And taking the win there in the TCRs, once again, 4 in a row now, is Bailey Petrowski from D2D Sim Racing. Another dominant win there. Trying to keep modest there from the Friendly Neighborhood Racing. In second place, Mariano Barrios. And a good run from Orion, Robert Hartley, coming into third with Dan Carrito, Chris Thorman, David Payton, Travis Schwenke, and then Eric Violet. Some troubles along the way. But taking the win in the club sports, in the GR86 from the wrong stuff, it's Robert Schwenkler. Dominant win there tonight. Andrew Sharp coming up into second. Chuck Labano, great run to grab that last podium spot there in third. And then the Klimovich's good run for the Slow Bros, the Klim Club. David, a little bit outpaced by Michael. Michael in fourth, David fifth. And then you got the Paul Carey, John Casey, fifth and sixth. Russ Ruddick, Jeff Jacobs. And then unfortunately for Bobby Childs, some damage, but we got to see his livery, and that's always fun. So who do we have to interview tonight? Let's see. Why don't we start out finishing in second place in the TCR class tonight, your Friendly Neighborhood Racing. Let's bring in Mariano Barrio.
Hey Mariano, it's Avery up in the booth. Congrats on a second place finish here at the tricky Long Beach. Can you take us a little bit through on how tough of a race this was?
Hey guys, yeah, it's good to be back here. It was a tough race, pretty lonely for me for the most part. After the first phase of the race, it was mainly just trying to keep it off the wall, which I did fail at one point. I picked up a little bit of right front damage, but it didn't affect me too badly. But yeah, my strategy was just to try to get ahead of Eric if I could in a turn one, and thankfully I was able to do that and just slot in behind Bailey, but Bailey just had so much pace, there was nothing I could do to catch him.
Yeah, he had some good pace, but so did you. He had a pretty good gap back to Robert Hartley, who's no slouch in any car, back in third, but you had a really good run, and like you said, you had a good start. You needed to make sure you get in front of Violet there before. It's a tough combo, especially when you're doing multi-class racing. Can you take us through? Was there any issues with the other class?
No, I actually was surprised. I thought it was pretty straightforward to pass. There were no tricky passing zones for the most part. If you slotted in behind a slower car for a few laps, you maybe lost 3 or 4 tenths at most, and then you could always overtake in the hairpin. So I found it was pretty easy. Everybody in the Toyotas was doing a pretty good heads-up job of holding their line, and it really wasn't that big of a deal as it has been in other tracks.
In a few weeks' time, we had the Portland International Raceway. It's a new attractive service. What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't even turned a single lap there, so it's going to be a complete learning experience, and we'll see how we can perform over there.
So what he's saying is make sure you tune in 2 weeks here for same place, same time. But Mariano, before we let you go, anybody like to give a shout out to?
As always, my wife watches the races, does everything around for us, and my little 1.5-year-old son. Try to get him into racing here at some point and see if he can show some of these guys how it's done as well.
Absolutely awesome. Congrats again on that second place. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right, that was Mariano Barrios for the Friendly Neighborhood Racing place in TCR. So why don't we go ahead and bring in our winner from the TCR class and the overall tonight from D2D Sim Racing. It's Bailey Petrowski.
Hey, Bailey, congrats on the win. 4th win in a row in the TCR category. First off, you had a good qualifying lap that set you out on front. Can you explain on how important it is to have track position here at Long Beach?
Oh, absolutely. In all of our practice, all of our team, we kept talking about how important it's going to be just to get that good lap, because even with some of the slower cars in our class, it was pretty much impossible for me to pass. And so we just knew that if we couldn't get in front, or if there was some issue that happened that put us further back, there's not really any gaining that position other than luck with traffic or setting yourself up with traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were some shots fired in the pre-race interview by a teammate of yours, Eric Violet, saying the starts were a little rough on the starts, but you did really good at this time and pulled away.
Yeah, the start looked good, and then I think since I was on the outside and had to take a bit of a longer distance going to turn 1, Eric was able to catch up a bit going into turn 1, got a little bit close, but overall, all of us kept it clean through there and looked pretty good. From my perspective, I couldn't see anything after Eric, just because of how many walls are here and low visibility, but yeah, it felt like a very good race.
Yeah, it was a really good race, from the top to the bottom of the field. And, the nice thing about the Extreme Motorsports Series is next week, you guys go also to
yes,
Long Beach again.
Come back.
Are you excited to be a little bit faster car?
Oh, yeah. I love driving the GTPs. That's, I think, always going to be my favorite car to drive. I am planning on switching to the Acura for that race. I've been in the Ferrari for, about a season now. Do want to go back to my trusty Acura. I definitely feel more at home in that car, and it'll be good to bring it around this track. So I'm looking forward to that one. Awesome.
Congrats again on another win here in the Touring Car Cup Series. Before we let you go, anybody like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to all the sponsors for the series: Ricmotech, Buck Kicker, Apex Racing, the SDK Foundation. I want to thank the sponsors to our team as well as all the work that Eric always puts in for the setups and testing. I want to thank friends and family for watching. Thank you guys for commentating on the races. And yeah.
So congrats again on the win. We'll see you next week at Long Beach. Don't go too far from the track, because it should be another good one next week.
Thank you very much. You have a good one.
All right, that was your race winner, your overall, Bailey Petrowski from D2D Sim Racing. So let's get one more interview in here. Tell you what, let's bring in our winner from the Club Sport dominant fashion. Your winner there from the Wrong Stuff. It's Robert Schwenkler.
Hey Robert, congrats on the win there in that Club Sport category, and you put on a really good show. Take us through the race from your eyes.
Yeah, man, it was an awesome race for me. Super quiet, but sometimes those are the best ones. I might have had a little bit of pace on Andrew. He had admittedly said in pre-race conversations that he didn't have a lot of time here. So, and honestly, I didn't put a lot of time here either. It all just kind of clicked last night in practice, and I was able to be super consistent. So yeah, I just tried to put my head down, focus what was ahead of me, and I don't know what happened. They were right behind me, and then I guess they had contact or something, but I saw I had a 3 or 4 second lead, and then I was just putting seconds on them lap after lap. So, and then the pit stop timing that was pretty good. So yeah, just all kind of fell in my lap today.
Yeah, when you get that lead and you kind of just drove away, it's all about maintaining progress here. And I think we learned here at Long Beach, it's very easy to make a mistake and hit the curb too hard. So you had to run. You couldn't make a small mistake, it puts you up in the wall. So you had a really good run, and in a couple weeks, we're excited to be back here on Apex Racing TV. So we're going to Portland, not a track that's relatively newer to iRacing. What are your thoughts on that?
I love Portland. I think it's super fun. I think the racing there is going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Are they like running it in officials? So curious to see how it works out with this group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun track. I'm looking forward to. I'll probably be watching because we'll be back to business as normal next week and with Greg here. But congrats on getting that win. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, as always, thanks to you guys and Apex for putting on the broadcast. Y'all do a great show. Likewise, thanks to all the team sponsors: VRS, SimCoach, UbiSafe, Dangerous, InMotion, Abruzzi, Jerry Ackerman, Toyota. Big thanks to all you guys. Thanks to all my friends and family for their support, for watching, and yeah, we'll see you at the next one.
Absolutely, Robert. Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks' time. Have a good one.
Thanks, sir.
All right, there you have it. Your Club Sport winner tonight from the Wrong Stuff Racing, Robert Schwenkler. Congrats to him. All right, so let's. We mentioned a couple things what's coming up in the next few weeks. Let's get the schedule up there and tell you where we're going to be. And those of us in the broadcast booth, we're not going anywhere. We're going to hang out for another week in California. We went from the northern end to the southern end. Why not stay in Long Beach one more week? So we're going to have the Ricmotech World Challenge, round 4 next week. Same time here, 75 minutes right here at Long Beach with those World Challenge cars. The following week, we are going to go up to Portland. As Avery's mentioned, that's a relatively new track. A lot of drivers may not have seen it. I don't believe the Ricmotech series have been there yet. We're going to be there in 2 weeks for round 5 of the Touring Car Cup. And then a week after that, we're going to go all this time we've spent in California and all the travel budget we've saved. We're going to spend it all to go to Portimao, Portugal. We're going to be 75 minutes of the Ricmotech World Challenge at the Algarve circuit. That'll be in about 3 more weeks. So looking forward to those events. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Definitely here at Apex Racing TV, bringing you all the best coverage of the Ricmotech series every single Monday night. So appreciate you hanging around here tonight. Avery, it's been great having you alongside, filling in for Greg. Anytime that we kick Greg out, anytime that Greg's not here, you're certainly welcome to fill in for him any one of those times. So for Avery McDonald, and of course, Jonathan Grabowski is doing a great job here tonight, giving you all the best angles and replays for us. I'm Larry Brian McLeod, and thanks again for watching the Ricmotech XMS Ricmotech series presented by SDK Foundation.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.